My name's Aaron Montgomery. I have a company called Our Success Group, and I am fortunate to get to work with small businesses, what I would consider a micro business, going from a side hustle maybe or something like that. And we're just trying to get into that mindset of success. To be a successful small business owner, we have to have the right mindset, which comes with having a foundation to build off of. We help people with finding the right foundation. And what a lot of times some businesses might go, oh, well, that's just the basics, right? But not everybody has those skills yet. And I've been fortunate enough to be around the t shirt printing industry since 2000 and have used all those experiences from all different sides of that industry that I've been a part of to just take and come up with what I feel like is a really good formula for people to build their business off of this cycle mindset of continuous growth. I'm a Jack Canfield certified success principles trainer. And so I bring that to bear along with the years of experience in business. And just really fortunate to get to work with a lot of people. I've got a couple podcasts that I share, and it's been quite a ride since starting this business back in January of 2020. When I was early on in my career, I was a commission only salesperson for a printing company. And I was a bit hungry, to say the least. I was not a good salesman. This wasn't my calling, but I had a potential lead on my list who was very deeply involved in the t shirt printing industry. And because I was so hungry, I called him all the time. And one day he finally agreed to have a meeting with me. I thought, oh, here's my big chance to sell all this printing. And I get in there and he says, well, I don't need any printing, but do you need a job? I started with him back in 2000 and I just really fell in love with it in the sense of it's such an interesting industry because of the fact that it is a lot of small businesses. There's not a huge investment to get started in the industry, but at the same time, we have a lot of attrition. We have a lot of people that get into it and then realize that they also have to run a business. They don't get to just play with the creative designs and the making; that they have to run a business, and therefore we lose a lot of businesses too. So I just fell in love with that process. I've been traveling to trade shows around the world since 2000. I've probably been to at least 1,000 of them, if not more. This is interesting because when I got into starting our success group, the idea was let's make sure that they can maybe make an email campaign or do some of the marketing and figure out a spreadsheet, a few things like that. I thought really it was going to be the nuts and bolts of things. And what I was able to discover really quickly was that those folks that are starting a business, they've got all of that out there, right? You've got great shows like this. You've got all sorts of information that is in our world today. You can get anything you want right from this little box that we carry around with us, right? At the touch of your fingers. But, that becomes overwhelming. Right. And so then we're like, okay, I have to go follow this guru or I need to do this thing. I've got to figure out how to do a Facebook ad. And the reality of it is that I don't know if that's right for you. I can't tell you that. And people were asking me those questions. And so what I started to discover was it really boiled down to their mindset. Did they have enough confidence? The term out there, fake it till you make it, was used pretty heavily. And I was like, that always just made me cringe a little bit. What it is that we need to believe it until we achieve it. And once we have that belief in ourselves, then we can make those decisions about, okay, do I need to go do this thing or this thing? And who should I be following? Who should I be learning from? Mindset really is, to me, the foundation of it all. We have to know why we're doing this. The statistics show that being a small business owner is not an easy thing. When you've become a small business owner, you've basically given yourself the right to work every hour of every day. And that's the problem, right? Then we become burnt out, overwhelmed. We've kind of created a lower paying, more hour requiring job for ourselves than a business that we love and have a passion about. I think to me, that's what is so important to really kind of make sure that we come back, that we step back away from the day to day, the working in our business, and say, what's important to me? Why am I doing this? What's the reason? A friend of mine, his name's Jake Ballantyne, he says, our reasons have to be bigger than our excuses. And so understanding those mindsets and just setting ourselves up for success, I think if we don't do that, all the rest of it doesn't really matter. The challenges are really kind of what's important to us. How do we deal with those challenges? And then what do we learn from them? One of the most important things about mindset is that we have a comfort zone. As humans, our nature is to want to be in stasis, to be in that comfortable, still place. But to grow, we have to get uncomfortable. Growth is messy. Growth can be a little bit ugly at times. I think one of the biggest challenges around mindset is finding that ability to push your comfort zone a little bit, finding that ability to get over whatever our limiting beliefs are. The things that we don't realize, especially in entrepreneurs, we want to be very independent. We want to get out there and take care of ourselves and do all this other stuff. But success is ultimately a team sport. And what's happened to us over the course of our lives from people that care and love us too, that's the crazy part to me, is that all of these limiting beliefs that were kind of quote unquote install in me over the course of my life, these all came from people that love me very much, that I love very much, and they just wanted to keep me safe. They wanted to keep me protected. But some events, some things have happened along the way that made me create these stories in my brain. I can't do this, right? I can't do a live video show like this. I can't speak in front of an audience. I can't make the phone call. All these can't things. And really, can't is just, I choose not to. In that moment, I'm choosing not to. I don't have the will. I don't have the why, the reason to go beyond that. When I talk about comfort zone, uh, for me at first that was really scary because it's like, oh, I have to break through it. I have to go from 0 to a million miles an hour. But the reality is the only way to gain self-confidence is by surviving a risk, and we're only going to take as much risk as we're ready for. What's that first little risk that I could take? It could be that I do a video that's recorded or something like that. That to me is where you're talking about mindset, is we just have to understand that we've got limiting beliefs. We can rewrite those stories. There's tools available to us to do that. But the I can'ts in our lives, or we're just, I choose not to, is really what's going on there. You want those people around you that are going to be there to support you and love you no matter what. If the initial reaction is just go back to your safe place, you probably want to start looking to surround yourself with the people that are willing to push you a little bit more, because all that's happening in those moments where they're saying go back to your safe space is that's their perception. That's what they want for themselves. And even if it's a parent or somebody that you're really close to, they're just taking their story and translating it onto you, and that's okay. You can say, hey, thank you so much for that, and then move forward and go, but I'm willing, because my why is bigger, my reason for doing this is bigger, and I am going to push myself outside of my comfort zone a little bit. The review cycle mindset is a way to look at running a business. And really, honestly, it probably could be used to run life, but I don't claim to be a self help expert. I'm more involved in small businesses. The idea here is typically we set a goal and we go to start line and then the finish line, right? And that's all we're thinking about is those. But really, we've heard the cliche, you got to love the journey. They love to talk about the journey, right? But there's a lot of truth in that. It really is about the journey. It's about that constant reviewing a cycle to continue to change our mindset. For me, it breaks down into three parts. We need to just start with getting real clarity on why we're doing things. We need to have clarity on what our actual goals are. A lot of times a business owner will say, well, I want to grow my business. And I go, okay, if I hand you $1, you've just grown your business. Is that enough? Right. We have to get specific. And so, kind of setting some of that up from that kind of 30,000 foot view, believing in ourselves, those kind of mindset things. And then from there, we need to create a plan. And it can be a long, detailed plan, very specific, but really just what are the actions we're going to take? A lot of times we go, oh, I'm going to take action. And we just go out and we take action, and that's great. But we need to make intentional action. And so there's a little bit of a planning phase that we need to go through in this cycle. And then finally, we do need to take the action. But within that action, we have to be able to gain the feedback that's going to come from that. We have to actually crave the feedback. Part of that is what we talked about just a moment ago, with putting yourself with people that are going to push you a little bit more, and then analyzing what those actions told you, and then starting back over. Then we're resetting, going, okay, do I have more clarity on my why now? Then I'm going to plan again. Then I'm going to take action again. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And honestly, in my mind, I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of my life, because what happens is it builds up momentum, and it gets easier and easier every time around. And so as long as we keep that momentum going, at a certain stage of my life, it's going to feel like the ball's just rolling downhill on its own. And I'm just going to keep going along, and then I can quote unquote slow down, retire, whatever it is that people want to say. But that's to me what that mindset cycle is. A general rule of thumb, as humans, we tend to work on an annual basis. We celebrate the new year. To me, it really evolves around that. So the way I kind of look at it is we have that, okay, let's set our goals at the year. We need to definitely be looking out further ahead, 5 years down the road, typically is what I look at. Because when we look back at things that have happened to us over the course of 5 years, there's some massive changes that have happened. We think that this is going to take forever to build a business, to build a podcast, to whatever it is that we're trying to do. But the reality is, if you look back 2, 3, 4, 5 years and go, wow, look at that progress. So, what's the dream vision at 5 years? But then every year we set goals. And then breaking that back down quarterly, I want to go back and reassess, just see if I need to make any adjustments to my goals. I think you need to look at goals a little bit like a moving goalpost. Just because you didn't reach the goal doesn't mean it's a failure. Fail is just first attempt in learning. Right? Monthly, I want to celebrate what were the things that I got done over the course of the month and be able to celebrate. That builds these dopamine reward system where I want to do more because I'm celebrating. I used to be this person that when I set a goal, until I reach that goal, the little things along the way, it's like, I'm not there yet though. Right? I haven't quite got there. But the second I started going, wait a second, I did make progress there. I had this thing happen or these accomplishments. The more I celebrated those, the more action I was taking and the faster I was actually getting to that ultimate goal or that particular ultimate goal until I was ready to reset. So anyhow, monthly celebration, weekly planning. I look at things as a 7-day week, plan out the week, and then just daily. What am I doing daily? With the success principles from Jack Canfield, one of the principles is to have a rule of five, meaning what are the 5 things I'm absolutely going to get done today that's going to get me closer to my goal? And as long as you have that to start, then if I'm looking at my list and I go, man, it's 10 o'clock, I'm ready to go to bed and I have not finished those things. Well, guess what? You're a small business owner. You gave yourself that right to work every hour. So now it's time to do that. So yeah, that was the quick rundown. But again, that can be different for folks depending on what season they're in. We have cycles and seasons in nature and in life. And I think the same thing happens with our business. We're going to have cycles and seasons. And I always want to look at like, a crescendo, what's your busy season? And after that, now you got a lot of data, a lot of information to kind of reset, make sure the mindset's right again, and then get back into it. And so, whatever that cycle looks like for you, I think you should go with. So, Jack Canfield, most people probably know him for his more popular book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. So, that was definitely his most sold book and became kind of famous for that. But he's been a success coach for forever. I mean, I think he's been doing it for 50 or 60 years now. I watched the movie The Secret, and he happened to be the person that kind of stood out to me. There was a seminar nearby that I went to, and I just connected with him. He's got this book called The Success Principles. It's 64 principles. And what attracted me to it is I looked at his success principles and I said, well, that's exactly how you should run a business too. If we build that mindset around our business, just imagine how awesome those businesses are going to be. I was just talking about the success principles, and I felt like, these would work for business. The fundamentals of business success are my translation, so to speak. I've taken success principles, I've taken things that I've learned in other places, books like The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. There's all sorts of great stuff out there that I've been able to learn. And so what I'm trying to do is turn that into, how do I start a small business? How do I build this foundation for a small business that is based on this review mindset, this cycle of things mindset? The fun is intentionally all caps because I'm all about people having a business that they love, a business that's fun for them. I know way too many small business owners that it's virtually killing them in a lot of ways, right? I mean, it's stressful. They did it because they wanted more time with their families, they wanted more freedom and things like that. But the opposite happens. They are working every hour. I think if we can have this foundation, this mindset side of things, we can actually make it a fun business. But it does take work, though. I mean, this is for action takers at the end of the day. If you're, want to just sit and learn by osmosis, be a consumer of things, but until I put that stuff into action, doesn't make a bit of difference. That's what the fundamentals of business success are. It's for action takers that are ready to build something. I believe a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners are very driven. They look at the results. I'm not there yet. And so that becomes a beat yourself up for not getting there thing. But I think if you can switch that, have that counterintuitive thought process of, let me celebrate the things that are working and then allow that to attract me, to push me through, to get me to those actual results that I'm so focused on. The one thing that I would love to share for people, that love for people to take away from this, is just looking at the journey, the process, and celebrating things that are working. And when we're doing that, when we're focusing on those celebrations, using that celebration, because what we want to do is we want to focus on the things that aren't working and figure out how to fix those things or improve them or whatever. But the reality is, I think real success comes from focusing on the things that are working and then figuring out how to amplify that. So we get back to talking about the specifics of it. Like, do I need to be on Facebook? Do I need to be on this? Not necessarily. If you're somebody that just loves getting in front of people face to face and doing that, well, why don't you amplify that? How can you get more people to show up at the Rotary Club meeting? Amplify those things and make them more valuable first. And then those things that maybe aren't your strengths, so to speak, will grow more naturally. But I think we all want to go directly to the, let me fix the things that I'm not good at, and that becomes unfun. Right? Trying to fix problems is not fun, but amplifying things that are working, that's really fun. I think the other thing that gets in our way, we accomplish that thing, and then, with the idea of celebrating, like we have to go out and buy a big fancy dinner or have a party or whatever. The celebration just is really just letting those dopamines come, just doing a little applause or just saying internally, kind of going, yes, I did it. Right. That's the celebration that we're talking about.